Videos are for general reference only, and written installation, repair, and service instructions should be used to ensure all processes are followed. These videos do not address all potential problems or repairs that may need to be addressed, and care should be taken to consult a qualified contractor. This video contains the instructions for installing a VST G2 nozzle front-end kit on a VST Pre G2 nozzle. These installation preparation procedures must be followed to ensure a leak-proof installation and operation of these nozzles. 1. Turn off and tag the power to the dispenser. The dispenser must be de-energized prior to service to avoid personal injury. 2. Barricade the work area to block vehicle access to the dispenser. 3. Close the dispenser shear valve prior to performing any service work with the hanging hardware, hoses, safety breakaways, and nozzles. 4. Drain liquid product from the hanging hardware set into an approved container prior to replacing any hanging hardware component. 5. Remove the hanging hardware from the dispenser prior to making replacement component assembly connections. VST recommends connecting the whip hose to the dispenser as the last connection during the hanging hardware assembly. If any of the hanging hardware components are involved in a drive-off or incur other customer abuse, each individual component must be functionally tested prior to customer dispensing activities. It's very important to use the proper lubricants. Improper lubricants may damage the component, which would void the warranty. For the O-rings, use only petroleum jelly or other suitable lubricant. And always lubricate the components prior to installation. Take note that leaks are typically caused by damaged O-rings. Do not use pipe dope or thread sealant anywhere in the hanging hardware assembly. Be sure to drain the liquid product from the hanging hardware set into an approved container prior to replacing any hanging hardware component. Let's begin with an overview of how to identify the differences between a Pre G2 nozzle and a G2 nozzle. VST has two balanced EVR nozzles in the field. Each has had its own replacement front-end kit. To streamline field repairs, the G2 front-end kit, the 300 series, can now be installed on the Pre G2, also known as the SRM or 100 series nozzle. VST has discontinued the sale of the 100 series front-end replacement parts. The VST FEK 300 kits and associated 300 series components are readily available from VST inventory. Reference the VST list price schedule. The Pre G2 front-end kits, VST FEK 100, can only be used on the Pre G2 nozzle. So, if you have inventory that includes both the VST FEK 100 and the VST FEK 300, be sure you are matching the correct front-end kit to the nozzle in question. The VST 300 can go on both nozzles, whereas the VST FEK 100 can only go on the Pre G2 nozzle. You need to be sure of your components. First, check the nameplate on the nozzle to ensure this is a Pre G2 nozzle. The text on the nameplate should be written in black, and it should not say G2. If the text on the nameplate is blue and states G2, then go to the G2 nozzle repair kit installation instructions. However, if the text on the nozzle's nameplate is black, then proceed with this video. Here are the tools and supplies you'll need. 1. A torque wrench. 2. A VST SRT 200, which is a spout nut torque wrench attachment. 3. Band clamp pinchers. 4. Petroleum jelly. And 5. Loctite 271. Let's begin with the removing of the vapor collection kit and the spout from the Pre G2 nozzle. Remove the large band clamp from the vapor collection assembly with the nozzle band clamp pinchers. Pull the vapor collection assembly, also known as the boot, off of the clamping groove of the nozzle body. Pull the boot off of the spout by slightly twisting it to go over the spout latch ring. Now that you've successfully removed the boot, follow these instructions to remove the spout. Loosen the spout nut with a smooth jaw wrench. Do not use a pipe wrench or locking pliers. Once the threads are completely disengaged, pull the spout straight out. It's possible that the fuel chamber will pop out of the nozzle casting when you remove the spout. The fuel chamber should remain in the nozzle casting with the vacuum sensing tube hole oriented at the top. If the fuel chamber is pulled out of the nozzle casting, first check the O-ring for damage. Check the O-ring for cuts and nicks, and replace the O-ring if it's damaged. Be sure to lubricate the O-ring prior to reassembly. Now insert the fuel chamber into the nozzle casting. The poppet stem with the spring goes through the poppet hole in the fuel chamber, the center hole. Once the fuel chamber is resting in the nozzle casting, push the fuel chamber in until it's flush with the casting. The vacuum sensing tube in the fuel chamber should be oriented at the top. Before installing the new nozzle spout assembly, re-verify that the assembly you removed is indeed a Pre 2. The spout you removed should have only a latch ring on the spout and no other components. Okay, now let's look at how to install the VST FEK 300 onto the Pre G2 nozzle. Align the vacuum sensing tube with the mating hole in the fuel chamber. Align the anti-rotation bump on the spout with the casting notch. Be careful not to damage the spout O-ring. Firmly insert the spout assembly into the nozzle casting. Apply a dab of Loctite 271 to the male thread of the nozzle casting. Be careful not to apply the Loctite so that it would enter into the casting notch. Thread the spout nut onto the nozzle casting and tighten it firmly. Then torque it to 34 foot-pounds. Use the spout nut torque wrench attachment in order to apply the appropriate torque. The spout should be tight and not able to rotate. Do not over-tighten the spout nut. After tightening the spout nut, place the interlock rod into the hole of the nozzle casting. Move the sleeve in place so the interlock rod is inserted into the recessed hole on the end of the sleeve. The interlock rod may be compressed into the nozzle to ease the insertion. The interlock rod should be visible through the side hole of the sleeve. Okay, now let's move on to installing the vapor collection kit, or the boot. To replace the vapor collection kit, begin by placing the large band clamp on the collection sleeve. Verify that the interlock rod is properly inserted into the hole of the interlock sleeve that is located around the spout prior to pushing the vapor collection kit into place. The rod should be visible through the side hole of the sleeve. Slide the VST VCK 300 over the spout. Align and center all the alignment marks on the top of the vapor collection kit and the nozzle scuff. Engage the interlock a few times to check for correct alignment and functionality. Tighten the band clamp until the collection sleeve will not rotate. Anytime you replace or repair a component, you must perform these 3 tests to make sure the component is functioning correctly. 1. A leak test. 2. A nozzle shutoff test. And 3. A resistance test. You have reached the end of this video.